You are listening to the Adult Sabbath School Lessons for the third quarter of 2022. This is lesson number 1 of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide, In the Crucible with Christ. This lesson is titled The Shepherd's Crucible and is ready for teaching on July 2. The author is Pastor Gavin Anthony, who was conference president in Iceland when he wrote this series of lessons. Today, your lesson is read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Tuesday, June 28. Unexpected Detour 1. The Valley. Psalm 23 verse 4 reads, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. It would be nice if the paths of righteousness wound their way only along the grass-covered banks of cool streams. But that's not the way David paints it. Also along these paths is the valley of the shadow of death, not a place that we are eager to visit. At certain times of the year, the wadis and ravines found in Israel are prone to flash floods that can come unexpectedly and prove overwhelming. These places also are characteristically narrow, with steep sides that block out the light. Hence, the shadow of death is an image for very deep shadow or deep darkness. Think about the times you have been in your own valley of the shadow of death. What has it been like? Did you have fear, even though you knew that the shepherd was there? Which Bible texts were most precious to you at that time, and why? How do you think the sheep ended up in the valley? Do you think the sheep went there on their own, or did the shepherd lead the sheep that way himself? Justify your answer. Elizabeth Elliot writes in Quest for Love, page 219, A lamb who found himself in the valley of the shadow of death might conclude that he had been falsely led. It was needful for him to traverse that darkness in order to learn not to fear. The shepherd is still with him. End of quote. And so to finish today, have you ever felt that you've been falsely led into the valley? How did you respond to God during this time? Why do you think the shepherd might be willing to risk being misunderstood by permitting us to enter a dark valley? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.